Hello and welcome to this edition of Bayou Time. I'm your host, Keith Weissite, licensed clinical social worker. Thank you for joining us. However you may be joining us, we appreciate it. And I'm really excited. We normally do this by a video chat, or we do it by Skype or by Zoom. But now, in the studio, Mr. Chett Chiasson, Executive Director of the Greater Lafourche Port Commission. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you for having me in today. It's really good to be here.
We appreciate that. That one-on-one, we kind of get to look at each other and talk a little bit. But man, I would tell you, I was just sharing this with you. I got excited about being able to see your offices down over in Cutoff, and now here you are with us in the studio. And I don't pass by a gas station and watch the price of gas without thinking about the impact of what the things that you guys do at the port and how that impacts and affects all of us. And so we had a recent vote here that started some things that are going to be good for us.
That's correct. So just about a couple of weeks ago, Congress passed the appropriations bill. And, we've been working on this deepening study and feasibility reports, working through those things with the Corps of Engineers and with the Assistant Secretary of the Army's office in Washington, D.C. And we finally got it approved in WRDA 2020. And then just this past appropriations bill, we got some new start dollars. Now, it's $300,000, so it's not like it's a bunch of money, right?
Right.
However, the key term is new start.
Right.
And it allows this project to move forward. It allows the Corps of Engineers to move forward on our deepening project, which also allows us to work out agreements with them to help start the funding process. And then any funding that we spend can be our match towards the project, because there is a match, right? For any time you do some new deepening work, there is a match for the local sponsor, which is the Port Commission.
Oh, okay.
So this allows the Corps to spend money. This is the first federal dollars coming into the project for this deepening work that we want to embark on. So it was a big day, and we're excited about that being able to move forward here in the near future.
And again, like you've told me before, these are all stepping stones.
Correct.
We got to get this first.
Yes.
And so, although, in dollars and cents, like you've said, I mean, y'all deal in millions, sometimes billions of dollars for things, but that $300,000 is the starting point.
That's correct.
And that's going to allow for some matching a little later that's going to make a difference as we try to gain more money and bring more money in for that.
Absolutely, and it's important for the future. It's important for today's operation, right? Just being more efficient with the vessels that we have coming in and out of the port, servicing the oil and gas industry on a daily basis, the energy industry as a whole.
Right.
And it's important for the future, too, as we make our stepping stone towards the 50-foot draft, which is our ultimate goal, to do some bigger and better things in the coming future.
Yeah, and the deepening part is allowing for those larger vessels, right?
That's
to
correct.
be able to use and to come in and out of the port.
That's correct. And the key piece to that as well is all of the material that we're going to be dredging out of the channel is going to be used beneficially to rebuild some marsh area immediately adjacent to the port. So it's serving an environmental purpose as much as it is an economic purpose, which is how we have to think in South Louisiana,
right,
especially in this region.
And so we talk about that all the time, where we see the wasting away of some of these islands and barrier islands and protection for what's important, but it's going to be used right there near the port.
That's correct. That's correct. And that's the way we're having to think, and it's the way we need to be doing things in the proper way, thinking about resiliency always. Everything we do is about maintaining ourselves for the future so that we continue to create economic benefits to our community and our region.
Wow. And again, so it's got some lasting support and results. It's almost like, you dig that swimming pool because you want to have fun at your house, right, but now we're seeing where all of that dirt or mud can be used to help out something else. And so it's just a really great idea.
Look, and it's the thoughts, it's the mindset, it's the help of a lot of people.
Right.
Gotcha. So our Port Commission, our staff, local entities helping us to get to where we need to be is really important. We have all the support from our local, state, and federal delegations for all of the work that we're doing.
Yeah, and we talk about that. One of the things that we talk is, you referenced the levee earlier. Some of those things that they put in place some many years ago are finally coming to fruition. So again, this starting point, this new starting point, if you will, is going to make a huge difference.
That's correct. And I know the viewers here have heard New Start before. I've
Right.
heard First Federal Dollar before with Morganza to the Gulf.
Right.
So this is basically the same sort of process.
Right. And, you know, like I said, we've been talking about for a long, long time, but now we're seeing, because the port makes such a huge difference to the economy every day, every hour, every minute. Right. It's important to be able to see how we move forward with getting some help and that New Start money to be able to move forward. I mean, there's got to be some longevity here. You and I talk about it all the time, about what we're doing with oil and gas, what we're doing with renewable energy, and making a plan for that and being well structured. We need that foundation to move forward, right?
That's correct. And this all fits with that master plan that we talk about. In fact, we're going to be updating our master plan here in the next month and putting those things together to really highlight all of the environmental capabilities and the things we need to be doing from both, you know, to have that balanced energy portfolio for our country. We're trying to be that example.
Wow. And again, that master plan, how far into the future does that master plan look?
So it goes for, right now, what we're currently living by is one that was done in 2015, and it goes to 2035.
Wow.
So it's it's
like a 20-year plan.
20-year plan, so we're going to do that same thing again.
Very exciting to be
Yes.
able to kind of look at that and how different it is now than the one that you did in 2015, right?
That is correct. It's so different.
It's
the
amazing how
landscape
that's changed.
of this country and of the energy industry has changed so
Dramatically.
much.
And some of those changes, worldly changes, kind of affect what's happening here. It's hard for us to kind of see how this trickle down kind of impacts, but there are some worldly events that are really impacting us every day.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, and we see it at the price of the pump. The price
Right.
of a barrel of oil every day fluctuates. You know, we had gone from almost 120 down to less than 100, and now we're back up to around 115 or so today. So things are fluctuating very quickly. And I think that the interesting thing is to note that why does it happen? So obviously there's a world market for oil, and we're living in that world market.
Right.
But just in the United States, we consume just over 19 million barrels of oil per day.
19 million
19 million barrels of oil a day.
Okay.
But we don't produce that, right?
Right.
So we produce in the country about 11.3 million barrels of oil a day, and about 1.7 million of that comes from the Gulf of Mexico. About 15% comes from the Gulf of Mexico. So that's what we at Port Fourchon service on a daily basis, right?
Wow.
Is that 1.7 million barrels of oil a day. A little under that, we don't service every barrel of oil, but the vast majority.
Yeah, you do a whole lot of it.
Is serviced out of Port Fourchon. But
Right.
that's the thing that we have to think about when you talk about why is the barrel of oil increasing? Why is the price of gas increasing? Is because that barrel of oil is going to the refineries to be turned into fuels and gasoline and diesel and that sort of thing. But again, we don't generate all of the oil that we need to do that, right? We have to get it from somewhere. We're doing as best we can right now with what we're being given in terms of the industry. But what we do know is that there's about 4.7 billion barrels of oil that we know of today that's been assessed in the Gulf of Mexico that's available.
Wow.
Right, to be tapped into.
4.7
Correct.
billion.
So the discussion by our administration and what's going on around the world is, well, let's just get after it. Well, that's all fine and good to think about, but it's not that easy. It's not that simple.
It's a process.
It's a process, and it takes time. And the fact that there's our industry right now is not very clear as to where it's going because of what's coming down from the regulators.
Right.
So you really need to have a balanced approach. You need to be kind of trying to attract business into our country. And right now, on the world scale, most other countries are saying, hey, come drill over here. But if you see what's going on, the rhetoric out there, what's going on in the media, what's coming from our administration federally is, we really don't want you here. So it's very difficult to ask a multinational corporation to say, hey, how about you spend a bunch of money here in the United States, when that's not the message that we're giving from a regulatory standpoint. So that's why we talk a lot about, we need
limitations.
We need to talk about attracting business. We need to be attractive to those companies to want to come in and invest their dollars here.
And you talk about that balance. We got to find some kind of balance between being attractive and having good regulation.
Correct.
Because the regulation matters. I don't know that there's any place that needs to be regulated more than an oil rig, and certainly one in our backyard in the Gulf.
That's right.
And so that's important. We're not saying don't do safety. We're not saying don't do regulation. But let's find a way to make it attractive for them to come in.
That's correct. And be realistic about that energy approach. And look, we're not going away from petroleum products. We need them.
Yeah.
You know, we only use, 30% of the petroleum that is produced in the country is used for fuel.
Right.
That's it.
70%
Everything is used for
other
everything
things.
else, right? And that everything else is not going away, and the fuel need is not going away either.
Right.
So we need to be able to keep those to be able to keep those prices low. We have to continue to produce and continue to explore, and that leads into the whole lack of a leasing plan. And you know, they said we weren't going to sell leases. Then the leases were sold. Then a court pulled those leases. And then there's no plan for the future either. Now, the administration, I think President Biden announced last week that we're going to move forward with a leasing plan. So we'll see what that means, but that takes a lot of time.
Yeah, right now we're talking about the red tape, getting to the approval process for leasing, and then how much takes place before we can get to drilling something.
That's correct.
You know, and that's where we got to try and clean up that process and be able to make it a little bit easier. But we also need to have a clear message.
Yeah.
And that's we're not really it's muddy water, if you will. You know,
correct.
Pardon the analogy to what we have to do with drilling with
That's
mud.
right.
You know, I know some friends who are mud engineers, so I get that.
Right.
But the water's a little muddy still about where we're going, and it'd be nice if this master plan that we talked about here recently matched up with what the government is saying that can be done.
Correct. And for the industry to thrive, there needs to be certainty. And there's so much uncertainty right now that you know it's very difficult for industry to move forward.
Yeah. We got about a minute left. Anything happening with the port right now you kind of want to share with people as we finish this segment?
I think, look, we're recovering well. Things are coming along. We're getting all of our public locations, you know, like public boat launches and wharves, and all those are being designed and getting things back up and running. Our facilities are up and running and moving along, and we're ready for business and we're ready to move forward.
Yeah, very good. Well, Chett, we can't thank you enough for coming on and being that leader to let us know what is needed, to let us know what we need to kind of push for as we talk to our legislators, and more importantly about what that master plan is going to be. That's an exciting thing to talk about how different, like we talked about, how different this 20-year plan is now here in 2022 as it was in 2015. And so we're excited about that and all of those things. And more importantly, thanks for coming in.
Thank you
and
for
being able to share that. All right, Chett, we appreciate it. All right, and again, ladies and gentlemen, that is Chett Chiasson, the executive director of the Greater Lafourche Port Commission, and all of the things that are important happening in that area. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, more Bayou Time. Don't go anywhere.